show you my toys.
Hey everybody, this is D Hunter bringing another action figure review. Today we're looking at the Extreme Sets pop-up diorama, the building 4.0. This is obviously the fourth variation of this building they've made. This is for 1/12 scale action figures. I personally have the pop-up diorama 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and I'm excited to add the 4.0 to my city diorama setup. So let's check out how we got to this point. So as you can see here, I did actually buy two of these building 4.0 dioramas, and you can see they came in these cardboard boxes. Really no detail on them. You really can't tell what's inside of there, except for the fact that on the front here it says building 4.0 1/12 size pop-up diorama. And then as you can see here, here's the box removed from its cardboard sleeve. Building 4.0 pop-up diorama. You can kind of see, looks like something maybe out of Chinatown. Nice building sort of structure. Got the clear plastic here where you can actually see a piece of the building, see what you're looking at. And then the back side just simply says Extreme Sets, extremesets.com, little advertisement. Of course, there's also a barcode there. So now that we've taken it out of the package, here are all the pieces laid out, ready for assembly. We've got 4 pieces to make the bottom half of the building, 4 pieces to make the top half, 2 rooftop pieces below here, and all kind of stuff to assemble the stairs. So let's get started. So before you start to assemble this thing, first you're going to want to take these 2 rooftop pieces and set them aside. They'll be the last pieces you'll need. Next, take these 4 different reddish, smaller building walls, set them aside as well. And then take these larger, kind of gray building walls for the bottom building, set them aside as well. Let's start off with the staircase here. So here are all the pieces necessary for assembling the stairs. These darker pieces are all numbered. I put them into piles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You got a ton of number 3s. So the first thing you want to do is take this piece here, crease it kind of the other direction. You would like it to eventually be straight. Kind of get it to as even as you can, and you want it like this. Next, you will take piece number 1, labeled pretty obviously, fold all the creases, this thing, this thing, this thing, and this thing. Now fold it as hard as you can. It will pay off. And then you'll want to take the base of the staircase here. These 2 little folds, actually start with this thing, punch this out. Insert this like so. There, get it all the way in there. And then this will fold on top and go into here like so. Now it's not going to be stable yet. Don't be too concerned about that. It will get better over time. I'm going to probably crease these a little bit more off screen. Next, take your piece number 2, and it will be clearly labeled again. Crease it as hard as you can on both sides here, and then insert it the next step with the 2 on the back side. Next, you should have something about like this. Don't be too concerned if the staircase is sort of caving on itself. That should be corrected as we add more pieces. Step number 2 is helping straighten step number 1 and supporting the entire thing. As we add more steps, it will support it even further. Next, you will have to get piece number 3, clearly labeled again. Crease it. Mine came with 10 pieces for number 3. Do them one by one, crease them, and then add them one by one each step with the number 3 on the back side. And then once you've added all of piece number 3, this is what it should look like at this point. Mine had 1 extra, piece number 3. So next we'll take piece number 4, should be clearly marked again. Go ahead and crease it, and then you'll add that to the back side with the number 4 on the back. Just make sure that you get it completely in. You can kind of see the side here, jagged. Once you get it all the way in there, it's very secure, it's stable. So at this point, your staircase should be complete and feeling pretty stable as well. It's not really going anywhere. This thing, it's doing okay. Then get the back part. Now, it looks like plain cardboard, kind of annoying. Fold it, kind of push it against there, and it's as simple as this open part will go at the bottom of the stairs. Put it around there, and that is how your staircase will look as it is in the side of the building. So now this step is done. Let's get on to the next step. Next, let's assemble the bottom part of the building. You will have 4 of these. The door is obviously on the bottom, so this part's going to be the top. Just make sure this is the top of each one of yours as you assemble them together. It will not work any other way. Door is functioning. Imagine that won't last very good over time, but before you assemble these, fold these tabs in as best you can. And on the other side, fold this entire piece in as best you can and as hard as you can. Do that with all 4 pieces, then attach them together, and you can do it however order you want. For me, this is going to be the front of the building more than likely, and I'll have these sort of Chinese sort of logos on the sides. Now I'm going to punch this out, as that's where the staircase is going to be. And this will be the back of mine. So this is what your building should be looking like at this point, ready to continue on a little further. Next, take these 4 pieces and pretty much repeat the same step. This is going to be the top part of the building on top of the previous part. Fold in the tabs, fold in this side here across the way as hard as you can. Do that with all 4 pieces, then assemble it the way you'd like. And at this point you should have 2 of these buildings assembled, both of them lacking a rooftop, and that's what we'll do next. Let's go ahead and start with the larger rooftop piece. Now, if you haven't built one of these before, I would highly recommend you check out the Extreme Sets Building 2.0 tutorial. There will be a link in the description. They explain it pretty well. But basically, take this thing, find all the creases, fold them on all 4 sides. Got one here, and you've got another one right here. Pretty much do that on all 4 sides. Once that's done, take it, flip it over. And once you've gotten this thing ready, next step is going to be, you have to figure out how the tabs work. This one will go inside, these tabs will go out, intended to go underneath where this thing folds over, but you can't forget this tab. This tab here is going to have to go in first. And you're going to have to do both sides at the same time. This is going to be frustrating. It is going to fight you. Just don't force it. Be gentle, take your time. So put those 2 in there. Then this thing is going to have to go over them. Make sure it's in there right, don't bend the cardboard. You can kind of tuck this in temporarily like so. It's not going to stay very well, but it should buy you enough time to get the next couple pieces right. So skip this side, do the other side. Put the tabs in, fold it over. Make sure these tabs are out. Everything's good. Push it in here. Now go ahead and with these tabs out, fold this guy over. Make sure it's pushed in all the way. Now there are little tabs sticking out here. Make sure they get pushed inside to add a little bit of stability to this thing. Crease it as much as you can along the way. Now it's not going to end up perfect. This little tab here is going to end up popping out. It's not going to stay as good as you'd like. But you'll never actually see the inside of this rooftop part anyway. So once you get that completed, then you should have something that looks about like this. Now it's not perfect. The sides are starting to pop out a little bit here, but like I said, you'll never actually see the inside. As long as it feels pretty stable, you should be good to go. There's the top of it. And then you will take your already assembled lower piece and go ahead and attach the roof to it. Pretty simple, just fits on top like so. It should feel pretty sturdy at this point once you've attached all the pieces. So let's keep going. And this is pretty much the last difficult step here. Take this rooftop exactly the same as the other one. Crease it here as hard as you can, as well as creasing it here. Do that on all four sides, and then flip it over. And then once you've creased all the pieces, same as last time, figure out how the tabs are going to work. Fold it inward, but you're going to have to put these tabs inside of here. Then fold it over, get both sides at the same time. This one's maybe a little bit easier because it's smaller. Push it inward here. Notice that we have these tabs there. This will fold over. Do this side first. Tabs in. Like I said, it's going to fight you. It's a little frustrating, but once you get it done, you get it right, it'll be pretty secure for you. So then you'll fold those over, make sure all the little corner tabs, like so, get pushed underneath into place for added durability. And then once you finish that, it should look about like this. Not all my sides are sticking in perfectly, it keeps coming out, but it really shouldn't be a problem as long as it feels like it's pretty good and stable and sturdy for you. It'll attach and be just fine. And then of course you'll be taking this rooftop here, popping onto this building, it'll fit on there really easy. And then you can take the bottom half of your building and simply just take the top half, pop it right on top, center it, and it looks pretty cool. Gives you some nice display options as far as displaying it as a very tall building. And if you don't like that, of course, you can have it as two different buildings in your city next to each other. Their height is pretty much the same. A lot of variety here for display. And then let's not forget to attach this very last piece, just sort of a street sign, the logo sticking out of the building. Find out which side has this piece, simply punch it out and insert. Pretty easy, and it will give a little bit of extra pizzazz to your display. So next, let's go over this building's action features. Now that we've gotten this thing completely assembled, now you've already seen that it can be one or two different buildings. It does have an outline here on the roof showing you exactly where to place the other building. And so this top half here doesn't actually have any action features besides a little sign on the side, which is cool. Just 4 cardboard sides, nothing to punch out or really do anything. It would have been kind of cool, I think, if these 2 windows on the front were able to sort of open up sideways. You could perhaps have a figure kicking its way in. The only thing I may describe as an action feature is we do separate into 2 buildings. It has a very large rooftop surface you can play on there, the exact same height and style of rooftop. So in addition to that, it has a functioning door at the bottom here. It is made of cardboard, so the more you use it, the worse off it's going to be over time. This side doesn't open at all, but this side here can open, have your figures go in there, etc. Would really highly recommend against using it too much though. I bet it'll be really jacked up if you keep using it. Next side here has a 2-sided functioning door. Same advice, minimize your use on it. Both sides can open up, allowing bigger figures to go in there. Maybe bring some cargo through there, etc., etc. Next side here has this permanently open punched out area. Now you do have the option to leave the completely black cardboard in there, but the staircase is just so much cooler. And on the next side, there's actually no functioning features on this side. So back to the staircase. So take your said staircase right here, and you can see it's very sort of basic on the outside. On the inside, it does have detailing on the walls, and the staircase itself looking pretty good. Simply take it, put it here, lift up your entire set, put it on top slowly, line it up just right, and you've got a staircase leading into the building that you can see detail on the inside, your figures can actually use, and it has functionability. Pretty cool. If you keep this playset stationary in your city, it's no problem. Of course, if you move the playset around, it's gonna not be lined up. Mine's gonna stay in one place pretty much indefinitely once it gets set up. As you can see, we got a little bit of an action scene going on here. The Red Hood gang is returning home after a heist. You can see them carry all their loot in. They got some bags of money, some duffel bags. You can see this guy here. He's heading up the stairs, and then a couple more other gang members are up there waiting for him. And then, of course, who's been watching them all night? None other than the Batman. And even though I am planning on displaying my Extreme Sets building pop-up as a square, a fully assembled building, you do have the means to display it separated like this. It could be a whole strip of buildings, several different buildings next to each other, or just one long building. And of course, you can do the same thing with the smaller top half of the building. You can give yourself a lot of different buildings, but it'll only be from one side, one dimension. Next, let's take a closer look at the rooftop. As you can see here, it's a completely flat surface. It doesn't go down inward like the building 3.0, 2.0, or 1.0 do. Pretty cool material, pretty cool paint job. Basic, but not too basic. I think they got it just right. Next, let's check out the dimensions of this thing. Height, width, and depth. Let's check out each of the building's pieces separately, the top and bottom, and then we'll check them out together. So as far as how tall this thing is, looks like it's sitting at a little bit more than 14.5 inches tall. As far as how wide it is, looks like it's pretty much 19 inches wide. And then how deep it is going to be 19 inches deep if you count below the rooftop, but if you count the roof, it's about 20 inches deep. The roof is ever so slightly bigger than the perimeter of the building. Next, let's check out the dimensions of the top half of the building. So as far as the height goes, it is exactly the same height as the other one, a little bit more than 14.5 inches. As far as how wide it is, we're looking at about 15 inches wide. And the same thing as far as how deep it is, 15 inches. Before you measure the roof, it's just a little bit under 16 inches deep. Next, let's check out the height of the building when you have both pieces attached the way it's intended to be. No point to look at the width and depth again because that has not changed. So from the bottom to the top, it's sitting at about 29.25 inches tall. Pretty large playset indeed. So I ended up switching tables for the comparison shots as I'm going to need a lot more room. So next, let's check out some different ways you can display this building. So if you bought one of these buildings, you can turn it into two separate buildings, kind of creating an instant city for yourself. Now I'm planning to keep mine upright like so, but if you want to mess around, there's a couple different options for you. Now this here probably makes the most sense, having the two smaller buildings on the inside and the two larger ones on the outside. Has a real nice flow to it, especially the roof. All four of these match and are evenly heighted. And then I thought they also looked pretty good this way with the two smaller buildings together and the two larger ones together, kind of flowing, a bunch of buildings on a strip or whatnot. And let's see what we can do to enhance this diorama, even if it's just a little bit. Here are some wrestling fences I have. Have both the buildings staying near each other, fences between them, make a nice little fenced off alleyway. Next, take some of these Diamond Select Toys Gotham sidewalk or road pieces. The Gotham Select figures always came with a really cool diorama, but the Toys R Us versions cost a whole lot less and came with this display stand, pretty much just a piece of sidewalk. They are connectable with the other ones, which is a really cool feature and can definitely enhance some cool city dioramas. I got something around 70 of these just from messaging people on forums if they didn't want theirs. And then here are some of the Gotham sidewalk pieces put together to assemble a little sidewalk in front of your shop. And then here's how the building would look if it was surrounded by the sidewalk pieces on all four sides. Just give me a little more depth, a little more realism, a little bit more aspects to enhance your city dioramas. And then here are both buildings butted up against each other with a full sidewalk in front of them. And then here are these two buildings with a bunch of Gotham road and sidewalk pieces put together to make a large road between these two buildings. You could possibly use this as an alleyway. A lot of options. If you're going to be displaying these buildings onto carpet like me, it is always nice to have these Gotham sidewalk pieces to add a road or sidewalk, as well as give your action figures a straight hard place to stand on. Go ahead and add some 1/12 scale vehicles. You've got a pretty cool city display going on. And then here they are next to some 6 and 7 inch scale action figures. These are all on the larger side of things, mostly all the 7 inch scale. These are figures from NECA, Diamond Select, McFarlane, DC Direct, DC Collectibles. You can see here, they all scale up pretty nicely next to this building. This fits in with pretty much any 6 to 7 inch figures, from the smaller side of things to the larger side of things. And then as you can see, some Batman figures on the rooftops from a couple different companies, scaling up very nicely. Once again, these are the larger size 6 and 7 inch action figures. And then here are the buildings next to a bunch of medium-sized 6 and 7 inch action figures. These are figures from Mattel, DC Universe Classics and Multiverse, Mezco, Mattel Wrestling figures, Mafex figures. You can see they scale up pretty good next to these buildings as well. And then here are both some Mattel and Mezco figures on the rooftop, scaling up very nicely with these buildings. And then here are the buildings as they compare with some smaller 6 and 7 inch action figures. These guys are 6 inch scale, kind of the smallest figure lines I collect. I see here SH Figure Arts, Jazzwares, Hasbro Marvel Legends, Mattel Movie Master figures, and as you can see here, from the smaller scale to the larger scale 6 and 7 inch action figures, they all fit in great with these buildings. And then as you can see here, there are some Batmans and Black Panthers on the rooftop, and they fit in great with these buildings as well. Now let's look at a few different general rooftop setups. Here's Bane as he has broken Batman, getting ready to throw him off, declaring this to be his city. And then here is Batman as he is trying to stop Roxy Rocket before she escapes on her rocket, with her stolen merchandise from the night's activities. And then here is NECA's Ultimate City Hunter from Predator 2 on top of a city rooftop holding his trophy. And here's a soldier trying desperately to escape as the aliens get ready to pull him down off the rooftop. And then here are the buildings with a bunch of McFarlane Fortnite toys and a big battle royale, as you can see here in the streets, shooting each other up. Even goes all the way to the rooftops where they're gliding and shooting as well. Next, I'd like to compare this to many other 1/12 scale action figure dioramas that work for 6 and 7 inch action figures, starting with the other buildings from Extreme Sets. And then here's the Extreme Sets 4.0 building compared to the 1.0 building. And then here would be the difference in their style of rooftops. As you can see here, the 1.0 kind of dips downward, and the 4.0 is completely flat. The 4.0 is actually the only of the 4 sets that has a completely flat roof. All the rest of them dip down like this. Of course, I did also get 2 of the building 1.0s as well for my action figure city. And then here are these 2 buildings back to back with each other in my action figure city. And then here it is next to the building 2.0. The building 2.0 is the shortest of all the buildings that Extreme Sets has made. It does have a cool little awning or overpass on top of the shop there though. And then here are their rooftops compared to each other. You can see the different style. Once again, the 2.0 dips in, and the different coloring. And then once again, I did get two of the building 2.0s from Extreme Sets, and here they are compared to the 4.0. And then here are these two buildings as they are in my action figure city. Here is the building 4.0 compared to the building 3.0. The building 3.0 is my personal favorite of the bunch. And then here's the roof of the 4.0 compared to the 3.0. You can kind of see how they look slightly different, but both look like acceptable rooftops. And then of course I also got two of the building 3.0s from my action figure city. Here's how they look compared to the 4.0. And then here it is next to another building 4.0. And then here it is next to the Diamond Select Toys, Ghostbusters Collect and Connect, Build a Diorama, 15 figures to assemble, rooftop diorama from the first Ghostbusters film. This thing is a huge, massive action figure diorama. It is absolutely great for Ghostbusters or just generic action figure dioramas. It's pretty much just as deep and even wider than the Building 4.0. And then I did manage to get two of these completed from Action Figure City. And even though I don't display them this way in my Action Figure City, these things are fantastic if you butt them up against each other. Gives you sort of a roof surface area on top of everything to play on, and a huge, huge top of a building. These things are great. And then here are these guys as they are set up in my Action Figure City. And then here it is next to the Diamond Select Toys, Ghostbusters Collect and Connect, Build a Diorama, the front of the Ghostbusters Firehouse. Once again, you needed 15 figures to complete this, series 6 through 10. Pretty cool diorama front. And then here's this firehouse front as it is displayed in my Action Figure City. Has another building on top of it. And then here it is next to the NECA San Diego Comic-Con exclusive 2018 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Street Scene Diorama. This, along with the Diamond Select Toys Collect and Connect Rooftop, are the two probably best dioramas in my collection. This NECA Street Scene is absolutely fantastic. And then of course I did get two of these as well to go into my Action Figure City. And just like the rooftop diorama, these two butted up against each other make for a hell of an awesome building. All four sides have detail, brick, and it gives you a large roof surface to play on. Here it is next to the version of the NECA Street Scene diorama that was released to the public. This one was non-exclusive and had a different paint job. You can probably get this one in stores now. And then of course I did get two of these as well from Action Figure City. And then just like the other pair, these guys work great, butted up against each other. This is how I display them in my Action Figure City. A great building with detail on all four sides and numerous roof areas to play on. And then here are all of the NECA sets put together as two separate buildings in my Action Figure City. Here it is next to the old Kenner Ghostbusters Firehouse. This is not a 1/12 scale playset or diorama. This playset was for 5-inch figures back in the early 90s. Even though I can't utilize the inside of the firehouse for my figures, it does have a place in my Action Figure City. Action figures can stand on the rooftop or on the side of it and look pretty good. And then of course I do have two of these as well. I bought one on eBay probably 10 or more years ago, and then I actually found the one from my childhood in my parents' attic. Although that one on the far left doesn't look quite as good as missing the doors, I display them in a fashion that uses the realistic parts as best as I can. They get displayed like this in my Action Figure City. one behind the other one. This covers up the missing doors. This gives them a bigger rooftop to play on, and it utilizes the regular-ish brick wall. Put some Gotham sidewalk pieces in front of here, and you got a nice little city. And then here are these two sets as they are in my action figure city. And then here it is next to a large Budweiser advertisement display piece I got from the grocery store. This is a Statue of Liberty type of large cardboard diorama. Fits in nice in my action figure city. I had to actually take it off the table and put it onto the floor because on the table it was taller than the actual ceiling. As you can see, Statue of Liberty-esque type diorama, very tall, very large. And then here's this thing as it sits in my action figure city. Very, very tall indeed. And then here it is next to a few different Lori playsets. These are kind of more like dollhouses. I got these at Target in the US. And even though the middle one is pretty nice and has 3 different levels, the other 2 could sure benefit from a repaint to make them look a lot more realistic. I have seen some really cool custom jobs on these out there though. Here it is next to a Mattel WWE Create a Superstar customizable wrestling ring. I purchased 3 of these things and sort of stacked them on top of each other, sort of to make an unfinished building or a skyscraper. It's a pretty tall thing. I do kind of wish I'd gotten a few more pieces so I could have made it even taller. Here it is next to a 6-inch scale Ninja Turtle playset from one of the various lines. This sort of looks like a castle when it's closed up like this, and then will fold open to become a sewer layer. And then of course I did get 2 of these as well for my action figure city. And then here are the 2 turtle playsets folded open. They make for a great turtle lair or villains lair. Many different uses in the action figure world. Here it is next to a Ninja Turtles tower playset. This thing works great with 6 and 7-inch action figures. This thing can actually be stacked on top of the second building and look pretty good. And here's where this turtle tower stays in my action figure city. As you can see, it's next to some really tall and several different Ninja Turtle sewers. We got the old school one down here, as well as some of the really tall kind, all 3 different variations of it. And then here you can see the height of the building 4.0, which is pretty tall in itself, but those turtle sewer playsets are even taller in the background there. And then here it is next to the Van Helsing castle. This is not a 1/12 scale playset. I believe these were 5-inch figures, but the castle is large enough that it does work with 6 and 7-inch action figures. And then here it is next to Kingpin's Crime Central Spider-Man playset. This playset is folded up to look like the top of a skyscraper. It looks okay for that. It does fold out to be about the worst damn playset you've ever experienced before. I pretty much always keep that Spider-Man playset folded up as the top of a skyscraper. And it also doubles up, looks pretty nice on top of this Budweiser set as well. And then here it is next to a He-Man Masters of the Universe Castle Grayskull playset. This is a larger 6-7-inch scale playset. This is a Matty Collector exclusive back in the day. I personally use it as part of my Ra's al Ghul castle in my action figure world. And then here it is next to the DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series Batcave playset. Now this diorama is not going to enhance your action figure city, but it is a great 1/12 scale playset nonetheless. And then just because I had all these buildings out for this review, I took them all to a separate room. Here they are in our reading room in front of my comics. Pretty impressive, the overall scale and scheme of these things. Endless city strip. Although I don't actually know where these buildings are going to end up in my action figure city setup. Here they are replacing the building 1.0 and 2.0. I think I'm going to have to rearrange my entire action figure room just to make these fit in. And then here are the building 4.0s as they are temporarily on display in my action figure city. Like I said, this is temporary. I put them on top of the 3.0s just because I haven't taken the time to figure out where they're going to go in my city. They do work out pretty nicely in this fashion though. In the back I stacked up the 1.0 and 2.0 buildings as well. As you can see here, amongst the rest of my city, you can see some of the NECA stuff over here. Got some fire escapes between there. Here's the building 4.0 on top of the 3.0. There's a couple 2.0s stacked on top of each other. And then a couple 1.0s as well. So all in all, I must say this is a very nice piece to enhance your action figures. It's a display piece, diorama, and arguably even a playset all in one. I must say this is not my favorite of the buildings from Extreme Sets. The 3.0 gets that title, but this is a pretty nice one. It looks very realistic. I do think the action features will deteriorate over time, so you don't want to bend those doors too much. And I've noticed some of my cardboard already seems to be bowing or curling just a tiny bit. So this is D Hunter. If you guys like this video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add it in the comments. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.